Hey guys, Jessie here from Urban Legends Antiques, and this week I did a two-tone hutch. I left the drawers the natural wood because the wood was so beautiful I couldn't paint over it. I wanted to honor the hardware, and then I did the top in Shamrock by Chalky Chicks. So let's get started.
We also celebrated Chuck's birthday this week, and my gift to him was a hot air balloon ride, and his Uncle Lorenzo and Uncle Walter went along for the ride. My friend Tina found this on Marketplace for free. The top was really damaged and needed a lot of work, but she told me to get over there and get it. I picked it up unseen because I trust her eye and I know that she's looking out for me at all times. There's always a benefit to having your friends know what you do. When I decided to work on this piece, it was 104 degrees outside. It was too hot to sand, so instead I just opted to paint it. I chose Shamrock by Chalky Chicks. It's a lovely green color, and I had seen Upcycled by Bree do a two-tone color with the wood and the green, and I knew that I wanted to try it as well. I'm using a round brush to paint with. This brush can hold a lot of paint, so be careful with it when you use the round brush like this. But I wanted to be able to get like a smooth coat very quickly since it's super hot, and I wanted to have something that I wouldn't have to stop and dip in and out a whole bunch and just get a lot of paint on the piece and then smooth it out afterwards, because being 104 degrees, my paint was drying very, very quickly. As you can see in this shot, the top corner where I first started to paint is already drying while I'm working on the bottom of it. So the paint is drying very, very fast. You can use a spray bottle and spray and reactivate the paint and moisten it up if you want to, but I was just trying to get the paint on very quickly. My technique is to get a lot of paint onto the piece and then smooth it out, and then once I have it on, leave it alone, because I don't like to have a lot of brush strokes showing through my piece. I don't necessarily do a lot of distressing. I just like to have like a clean look to my piece. As you can see, my brush is loaded up now and I'm not having to dip as much as I had done before. I can just keep painting without having to dunk my brush into the paint. The trade-off to having a brush like this that's fully loaded with paint is that when you have to clean it, there's a lot of cleaning involved. But I'm willing to do that to save the brush strokes from showing on my piece. Because it gets so hot where we live, we have to do everything early in the morning, including the hot air balloon ride. Here you can see the hot air balloon getting inflated. Chuck was so excited to watch this. He was filming the whole thing and he was like a little kid. I loved watching this. And here we go, we have liftoff. Oh my gosh, I'm terrified of heights. Chuck loves this kind of stuff and his uncles were down, so I was like, go for it. Back to the hutch. If you look inside, you can see there's already been some repair work done to it. It's a pretty old piece and it looks like they needed to stabilize the sides of the hutch so that way the drawers would maintain their slide. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Urban Legends Antiques, and I have a website with smaller items available for shipping at www.urbanlegendsantiques.com. Chuck filmed this view of them lifting off in the morning in Temecula. You can see the vineyards and the sun coming up over the horizon. Now they are fully up in the air and you can see the shadow of the balloon in Temecula Valley, and I'm so glad that Chuck was able to share this with Uncle Lorenzo and Uncle Walter. It is 9 a.m. and 104 degrees in my garage, and I knew the longer that it took to paint and sand, the hotter it would get. So that's why I opted to paint over the piece instead of sand it. Here's the top of the piece and you can see it's already starting to dry. Because Chalky Chicks is an organic, all-natural paint with low VOCs, I always pour it into a little cup instead of dipping in and out of the jar of paint. And I usually leave it in a shoebox while I'm working with it because I don't want to spill and have a disaster, which I've done before. The base is completed and now I am working on the top part of the hutch. I'm painting the underside of this, not where the drawers are, but just where you can see the wood shining through. And this is where the harp is that attaches the mirror onto my piece. Now that I've got the underside painted, I'm flipping it over very gently so I can start working on the top part. Because I left the drawers of the base, the natural wood, I opted to leave the drawers of the top natural as well. I love the duality of this piece, the straight architectural edges and then the curved organic edges. The straight edges to me read as masculine, and then the curved organic edges are feminine. And I do this a lot in my staging as well. I do what I call circles and squares. So the circles are feminine and organic, and the squares are masculine and architectural. I have moved on to the mirror now, and I am doing a technique called cutting in, which I learned from Chuck, and I am using the zebra angled brush, which is good for corners and edges. So you drag the brush very, very gently right along that edge, and what I'm trying to do is to paint just this little corner where you can see that little carved detail and still manage to honor all of the wood, the beautiful wood of this piece. Now I am taking a lint-free rag and I'm cleaning up those edges where I did not tape down and some of the paint got onto the top of the piece. The Chalky Chicks paint is able to be wiped down. You can reactivate it with water and clean up those edges after you're done painting before you clear coat or put a wax on top of it. Chuck has now landed safe and sound from his hot air balloon ride in another area of Temecula. They have chase cars that follow them along, and as you can see, there are more balloons that are now landing, and they're deflating his balloon. Look how excited Chuck was to have gone on this adventure. Back to my piece, it's time for clear coat, and I'm using Rust-Oleum chalked in the matte clear. I'm going to spray the matte clear coat onto the entire piece. And then when I'm done, my plan is to oil up the drawers really, really nicely to give them a nice, beautiful sheen. Other than doing a quick wipe down to remove any dirt, I did not do any prep work to the top of this piece. I did not sand it down. And as you can see, my Chalky Chicks paint covered up all of the damage of this piece very, very well. Here we go, the fun part. I'm staging my piece for photos for Instagram and for Facebook Marketplace. This piece is now available to purchase, and if you want to try to paint a piece like this, the color is Shamrock, and it is available on my website, www.urbanlegendsantiques.com.
Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Like and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, bing, and share this video with your family and friends. I'm Jessie from Urban Legends Antiques, and thanks for coming along for the ride. Bye!
Phew, they made it back, and now onto the wineries for some wine tasting. Woohoo!